Hello students and welcome to this second explanation. So this is traditional and ABC costing question 2. The question reads, Wright Sprite manufacturers produce plastic bottles that are used as containers for fruit juice and sodas. The entity incurs the following. So you will see that you have a number of overheads and you have the rand value. So we have material handling, which is 100,000 rand, quality inspections, 50,000 rand, labeling cost 25,000 rand, machine setup cost 250,000 rand, other sundry overheads 150,000 rand, and then the total overhead here is a question mark. So again, I'm just going to use the red and I'm going to add them together. So I see the first two is 150,000 plus 25,000 plus 250,000 plus another 150,000. I get to a total of 575,000. You just put it in red. Apparently it doesn't want to work. There we go. So the total overheads is 575,000 rand. Then the cost drivers are as follows. They have listed for you the overhead, the cost driver per product, and also in some instances the total. So we have material handling. The material movement is the cost driver. The material movement was 200 times for juice bottles, 300 times for soda bottles, and a total of 500 times when added together. Then the total quality, inspections is driven by the number of inspections. There were 50 and 70 inspections, and the sum of those two give us a total of 120 inspections. So I'm just adding up those that are question marks. Then we have the labeling cost. The number of labels will be the overhead cost driver. Then there were 3,750 labels, 1,250 labels, total there 5,000 labels. For the machine setups, the number of setups were 250 setups, so that should be a total of 250 setups. Again, I'm just highlighting it in red. And then other overheads is the labor hours, 150 and 150,000 labor hours should give you 300,000 hours. Just putting it in red to demonstrate that I had to add them up myself. Then they say upon inspection, it was found that the juice bottles take up 3 times more labels than soda bottles. We can see that because soda bottles was 1,250. If you times that by 3, you should get 3,750. So interesting information, but it's already in the table, so it's not really useful. Then they say you may assume that the number of labels also indicate the number of units that were sold and produced. So if we have a number of labels, so in other words, there were 1,250 bottles of soda produced and 3,750 bottles produced for the juice. In required number A, they say assume that Wright Sprite currently applies the traditional method based on the labor hours. Calculate the total overheads to be allocated to each of the products. Round your answers to 2 decimals. So we are asked in number A to do the traditional costing method. And again, I am going to just highlight the important information. So I will need the total overheads for traditional. So that one I'm going to highlight in yellow. And then I've been told that the labor hours need to be used as the cost driver. So that information will also be very, very important for my purpose. I have shared with you the template. So I am just copying the template onto a new Excel spreadsheet so that we can have a proper memo. For traditional, and this is now then, of course, the answer to number A. For traditional, we need to take the total overheads and we need to divide it by the total cost driver. In this instance, if I go back to my question, the total overheads was 575,000. The total cost driver was 300,000 hours. So I am going to divide 575,000 by the 300,000 300,000 hours, and I get to a rate of, I get 1 rand and rounded to 2 decimals and 92 cents. So just to check again, there's the 300,000 labor hours and there's the 575,000. So the rate is 1 rand 92 cents rounded to 2 decimals. In step 2, we need to multiply our answer in step 1 with the cost driver for each of the products. So we have the first product, which is the juice bottles, and we have also soda bottles. Then we start with our rate that we calculated in step 1, 1 rand 92. 1 rand 92, and then we need to go and find the cost driver for that specific type of product. So going back, you will see that it was 150,000 hours for the juice bottles and 150,000 for the soda bottles. So I'm now going to multiply by the 150,000. So there's 150,000, and the soda bottles happened to be the same. So the total here, I just need to multiply 1 rand 92 by the 150,000 hours. And it seems to me like 288,000 rand is allocated to juice bottles. And of course, I will now repeat this calculation only because it happens to be the same for soda bottles. And it is also 288,000 rand to be allocated to the soda bottles and the juice bottles should we apply the traditional costing method. Great, traditional costing, it's the easy one, really not that tricky. If we go to number B, we need to now do the ABC costing. For the purpose of that one, I am going to go back to my template and I am just copying the template for the overhead allocation if it is ABC costing that is applied. I am just pasting it in and let's start. Now we know that we don't have 3 products in this question, so I'm just going to delete. We only have juice bottles and we have soda bottles. Now we need to remember when we apply ABC costing, I start by filling out all the overheads under the heading overheads because we need to do a calculation for each overhead separately. So you will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this instance. So we have material handling and quality inspection. So I'll first type those 2. Then we also have, going back to the question, labeling cost and machine setup cost. And then we have other overheads. Now in this instance where we do ABC costing, I am now going to take down the yellow that I have highlighted because now we need to do a calculation separately for each of the overheads. So we're going to start with material handling, and the material handling was 100,000 rand. So I am going to highlight that one in green, and with the material handling we need the material movements, which would be that one. Then for quality inspection, we are going to need this 50,000 rand, I beg your pardon. I'm highlighting that one in gray, and with that one goes the number of inspections. So I need to highlight that one in gray as well, as they are complementary to one another. Then we have labeling cost, the 25,000 rand. I am going to highlight that one in, let's make it that turquoise, and then I will also highlight the number of labels in turquoise because that is the complementary cost driver. For the machine setup costs, I am going to highlight that one in yellow. And then of course the setups will go with the machine setup costs because that's the cost driver. And then finally, we have other overheads. The other overheads I am going to highlight in what have I not yet used. A dark blue, let's make it red. And then, of course, the labor hours will be the cost driver, which should also be red in complement to that one. All right, now you can't properly see. Please remember this was what? Let's just make that one visible again. There we go. Right, now I can start with my calculation. Please note how I now ignore this total of 575. We will not need it. We are going to do calculations separately. I'm going to start with the material handling, and we need to calculate the rate. It will be the rand value divided by the total of the cost driver. In this instance, I am then going to say 100,000. Divide that by, I think it was 500 times. And if I do that, I say 100,000 divided by 500 times. And again, I'm just using my calculator so that I do not cause any confusion with a formula. I'm going to copy the 200 under each product, and then I need to go and multiply this 200 I just calculated by the specific cost driver for that product. Going back to the question, it was 200 times for juice, 300 times for soda. So I'm going to say 200 rate, the rate 200, and I'm going to times it by 200, and then here I'm going to times it by 300. And just double check whether that's correct. Yes. Now, if I say 200 times 200, I get to an answer of 40,000. If I say 200 times 300, I get 60,000 Rand. Moving on to quality inspections, I'm going to use the 50,000 in the gray, and I need to divide it by the total number of inspections, which I added up to be 120. So it is going to be 50,000 divided by 120. That gives us 416.67. I am now going to take that rate, 416.67, and I need to copy it in or carry it over to each of the products. Now I need to go and times it by the specific cost driver for that product. So going back to quality inspections, it was 50 and it was 70. So I need to times here by the juice bottles by 50, and here I need to go and times by 70. If I now do that calculation, 416.67, I am timesing it by 50. It gives me a total of 20,833.50 cents. If I times the 416.67 by 70, it gives me a total of 29,166.90. Moving on to the labeling cost, we will use the labeling cost, which is in the turquoise, 25,000. We need to divide it by the total cost driver, which was the labels, and that is 5,000. So I'm going to take 25 divided by 5,000. If I do that calculation, I get 5. Let's just make sure if it's correct. I am not trusting myself today. Yes, it's 5. So I say 5 and 5, and now I need to go and look for this specific cost driver for each product. So for the labels, it was 3,750 and 1,250 respectively. So I'm multiplying 5 by 3,750, and I am multiplying 5 by 1,250. So if I say 3,750 times 5, I get a total of 18,750. If I say 5 times 1,250, I get to a total of 6,250 Rand. Then we are on the machine costs. For the machine costs, it was highlighted in yellow. So it's the 250,000 divided by the total setups, which was 250. So it's 250,000 divided by 250, and that gives us a total of 1,000 Rand. So that 1,000 Rand carried over to each of the products. I need to go and find the specific cost driver for each of the products. Here it is 200 for juice bottles and 50 for soda bottles. So I need to times here by 200. I need to times the soda by 50. 1,000 times 200, that gives me 200,000. And 1,000 times 50 gives you 50,000. And there we are complete. We have completed the machine setup overhead allocation. We are on the final one, which is the other sundry overheads. Here you will find it is 150,000 Rand, and the total there was 300,000 hours. So I am going back and I need to say 150,000 Rand divided by 300,000 hours, and that will give you half, 0.5. Then I am going to say 50 cents copied to each of the products, and I need to go back and multiply it by the specific cost driver for each product. And that was 150 for juice bottles and 150,000 hours for soda bottles as well. Here I am multiplying then by 150,000, and I am multiplying by 150,000. And this should give you 75,000 if my mathematics isn't too pathetic. And this should also give you 75,000 Rand because it's the same calculation. And this is not always going to be like that. It is just in this instance. I need to get to the totals for the products. So for juice, I'm going to say it's the 40,000. I add the 2833.50. I add the 18,750. I add the 200. And I add the 75,000. For my soda bottles, I'm going to take the 60,000. I will add the 29,166 and 90 cents. I will also add the 6,250. I will add the 50,000, and I will add the 75,000. And there you have calculated the total overheads to be allocated to juice and soda bottles in the instance where ABC costing is applied. For the juice bottles, 354,583 Rand and 50 cents will be allocated to the juice bottles, and in the instance of soda bottles, 220,416 and 90 cents is allocated to the soda bottles. I hope that you have enjoyed these explanations. I will also be posting a homework question, so be sure that you try that homework question so that you can practice on your own. It may seem very easy when I explain it, but once you have to go and sit and figure it out yourself, you might come across some challenges. All right, I will see you guys again. Keep well until then.